This is Bill Swope from Swope's Cars of Yesteryear Museum. Let me present to you a piece of American history. This 1920 Model T Ford, beautifully restored. This is a body off frame restoration. I'm going to tell you more about that, but I'll just tell you a little bit about the Model T. The Model T Fords were built from 1909 to 1927, and interestingly enough, Henry Ford built 15 million of these automobiles. The Model T Ford is oftentimes referred to as the car that retired the horse, because the Model T Ford was the first car that most Americans could afford to buy. And many Americans, and a lot of people can identify with this for their grandfathers and their great-grandfathers. Many Americans started out with the Model T Ford, many of which sold for $300, $400, $500, in that range. This is the 1920 Model T touring car, beautifully restored, as I say, brand new tires, 5 brand new tires, totally restored, body off frame restoration. The interior of this car is brand new. If you can get the camera over here, you can see that everything inside is brand new. The top is brand new on the car. Here is the driver's side of the car. The seats, not only the seat covers, but the seat springs have been renewed, so you've got a seat there that is certainly new. The floor of the car, the pedals and all, the dash of the car. And interestingly enough, the 1920 had the kerosene side lamps on the car, for parking, you might say, just the side lamps. The headlights are electric. One thing about this car that is not original, it has an electric starter, and that was an add-on. You could do, in 1920, you could add an electric starter to your Ford, and along with that went electric lights, because some of the cars still had the acetylene lights. But it's interesting, you did this for $75. $75 put the electric starter on, the electric lights on the car, electric horn, and so on. Now let me show you as we go around this car. First of all, take a look at these wheels, and maybe you can see the new tires and all. And I want to show you underneath the front of the car as well. But before I do, let's take a look at this engine. This is the famous Model T engine, 20 horsepower. Very little changed from 1909 to 1927, but as you can see, it's brand new wiring, new hoses. The engine was completely disassembled and rebuilt. You can see down here the electric starter on the car. The planetary transmission, again, completely disassembled, rebuilt, and new parts where needed. So you have then perhaps one of the finest examples, restored examples, preserved examples of the famous automobile of the 20th century. Some people call it the most famous automobile of the 20th century, the Model T Ford. As you look at the front of the car, you know, there was very little change in styling. Henry Ford didn't believe in styling. He believed in the utility value of the car. But as you look here, you can see the transverse axle of the car, and you realize that the cars evolved from the horse and buggy. These are buggy springs that Henry Ford used from 1909 to 1927 on every Model T Ford. But you can see that. You can also see how beautifully this is restored, how clean it is. This car is just as clean underneath as it is on top. Now again, looking at the car from a little distance here, you can see again the new top, you can see the new glass in the windshield, you can see the new tires, you can see all of the features of this car, and by the way, it runs as good as it looks. And interestingly enough, instead of $20,000 or $25,000, this car is investment priced at only $16,000. $16,000 for a totally restored 1920 Model T Ford touring car. beautiful car, and certainly anybody interested in the Model T Ford, and a lot of people are, anybody interested would say that this is a tremendous value at $16,000.